What does the average person not know about steroids that they need to know?
Everything.
He could have ended it right there. You need to know everything. Coach Greg, in today's video, a no-holds-barred interview with Chris Bumstead about his use of performance-enhancing drugs, including steroids. And so you gotta hand it to Chris. Not many people would be this open and willing to talk about steroids. Professional bodybuilders in the past, when asked and confronted about their steroid use, they quickly denied it. They pretended it wasn't there, or they simply told the interviewer, don't ask me any questions about steroids. But Chris, he tackles these questions head on. It's not too often that we have a current, that's right, current right now, Mr. Olympia openly discussing steroids and the fact that he's taking them.
There was a video done with Mr. Olympia guys being interviewed with their faces was blurry, and they're all answering as if you can't recognize who's who. You can, one is Tom Glass, that's Ronnie Coleman. He's like, yeah, we don't use them, and everybody was uncomfortable talking about it. Right now, people are more open to say, here's what I've done, here's what I've done.
And so back in the day, did you all watch this? They blurred out the professional bodybuilders, and you could clearly see, based on the voice and the shape of the body, exactly who was talking.
Of course, your identity is disguised here, and none of the viewers will know who you are. But
I think it's probably going to depend on has a lot to do with genetics.
They were talking about the fact that they're not natural, that professional bodybuilders actually use steroids. But remember, when I was a teenager growing up, getting into bodybuilding at the age of 18, no one spoke about steroids. It was the elephant in the room. No one spoke of it. No one knew the dangers, the side effects, what dosage you should take, what things do. But in today's social media world, it is completely the opposite. Kids, perhaps 14 years of age, they already know what cycles people are doing. They can't wait to use trend, and so we need to do something about it.
What does the average person not know about steroids that they need to know?
Everything.
And so what does the average person need to know about steroids before they start taking it? Everything, and stop. And stop. He could have ended it right there. You need to know everything. You really think you can just watch a YouTube video, perhaps it's a Coach Greg video, Derek from More Plates, More Dates, or anyone, and think, oh, I'm now an expert. I can now use steroids. Of course you can't. And I don't care if it's legal in your country. I don't care if you're an adult. You need to be an expert before you use and or abuse any drug whatsoever. People are so quick to just trust anything. Oh, this guy did it. He has muscle. Oh, my friend at the gym, my coach said to take that. And they just blindly follow the recommendations. How can you do that? You need to be proactive with your health. No matter what you think that person knows, research it yourself. You are ultimately responsible for what you put into your own body. So many times I hear people, whether it's a male or female, my coach told me to take this. I'm taking that and doing this. Changing their voice, gyno, cholesterol, acne. They have no testosterone production. They can't get it up. Do you know how important it is to research harder than last time?
There's probably a lot to it. And I mean, it's funny. I did a Q&A in Dubai the other week, and some kid just literally, probably 17, asked me if he should get on steroids. And I'm like, no. Like, first of all, I always tell people, if you have to ask someone else, you shouldn't.
And so imagine he's in Dubai and a 17-year-old asks, hey, is it time to go on steroids? Do you think I should start? He's 17. 17 years old, of course you're not ready. And automatically, if you're not sure, the answer is no. I've said this in countless videos in the past. If you're contemplating steroids and you're not sure if the answer is yes or the answer is no, it's automatically a no. Only if you've really thought about it. If you've done your research and you are sure, you have contemplated the pros and the cons, only then should you ever even consider taking it. And remember, that's with the advice and consent from your doctor, and only if it's not breaking the law. Different countries have different rules. For example, in Canada, you're allowed to use steroids. It's not illegal. You can't sell them, but you're allowed to use them. In the United States, you need a doctor's prescription. So, of course, it depends on your country.
So I definitely recommend anyone at a young age don't even begin to touch it. If your physique is still progressing, don't even think about touching it.
And so Chris is saying anyone at a young age, teenager, he doesn't recommend it. And he goes so far as to say if your physique is still progressing, then you're not ready to do it. I 100% agree with that. As you know, I have used and abused performance-enhancing drugs for over 10 years. But remember, I did 42 competitions, 100% natural, before ever beginning performance-enhancing drugs. And so ask yourself, how many did you do? Are you really going to take steroids for your very first competition? You don't even know how to diet. You don't know how to train. You don't know anything. And you're going to add on to that steroids for your very first show? Why would you do that? Chris went on to describe some of the negative side effects, and many people, they just don't care. More people care about the acne and the gynecomastia than the fact that it can shut down your testosterone for the rest of your life, that you may need HRT, that you could in fact get a heart attack, that you could be taking years off of your life.
Some people have an idea they want to compete, and they're like, I'm going to do my first cycle and compete, and then they compete and they hate bodybuilding because it sucks. It's a lot shittier than you think it is when you get into it.
And you know how often this happens? People do a cycle, they get into the gym, they're working out, they want to do a competition. They realize, hey, to look the best, I'm going to need to use steroids. After all, their hero, Chris Bumstead's on steroids. Chris openly said he started taking steroids at 18. Many people don't even believe it. They think he did it far younger. And so Chris is saying, I've done it, but don't copy me. Just because I did it, he still says, don't do it. But yet they see their other heroes. For example, Sam Sulek, 235 pounds of muscle. He hasn't even done a show yet. How do we know that Sam Sulek will not step on stage for the first time and hate every second of it? Perhaps he doesn't enjoy the diet. Once he gets down to 5% body fat, maybe he has no energy. Or perhaps he's shy, he gets up on stage, he doesn't like standing on stage in that tiny bikini. Perhaps he doesn't want to do it. And so he does the show for once and thinks, why did I use steroids? And maybe he'll regret it. Maybe he'll think, had I have done this natural, I wouldn't have been as big, but perhaps I would have been the world's best natural bodybuilder. Imagine how he would feel then. Or perhaps he gets his blood work done, discovers that he has high blood pressure, high cholesterol, that he is perhaps endangering his health. Imagine then. You can't rewind the clock. Once you've taken steroids, you cannot be natural ever again. You can't undo the fact that you're no longer natural. You may think getting married is the most important day of your life. I would argue, how is that more important? 60% divorce rate. Once you're married, you get divorced. Big deal. But with steroids, can you undo the fact that you've pinned yourself? Can you undo the damage that could do by taking years off of your life?
So I just always tell kids, it's sad it's even to kids, but to wait as long as possible to even think about it.
And so think about how sad this is. He has to tell kids. How sad is it to think that kids are thinking about using steroids? And you know why they are? They have body dysmorphia. Why? From social media. Whether it's Chris or Sam Sulek or the superheroes, The Rock, Thor, anybody. People are trying to fit into this world, and because of social media showing you the best of the best bodies in the world, how can we ever keep up? When I was a kid, it was mostly hard on the ladies, the women of the world. They had to be skinny, thin, perfect, and they were developing all kinds of disorders to try and look the part of being a woman. But no longer is it just the women's part. And we have progressed that it's now just as difficult on the men as it is on the women.
I think if you're over the age of 35 and you have low T, I think TRT is a great thing for you. I think being able to have that energy and be healthy and burn body fat to have this capability is healthier than taking a little bit of TRT.
And so Chris says, look, there's a big difference between being above the age of 35 and doing TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy, of which I'm doing, and somebody who's younger than 35, especially blasting gear. When you're doing steroid cycles, it's not in low doses. It's not just testosterone replacing what your body should be making. It's getting you to the point of having supraphysiological doses of various compounds. And these compounds will cause the body to experience negative side effects, negative health implications, and the higher the dose, the longer you do it, the worse the results are going to be. And they bring up a great point. You get to the age of 40, you go into these clinics, I call them anti-aging clinics, and no matter what your testosterone levels is, at least for the most part, they're going to say, oh, we could maximize this, we could inject this, we can give you that. You could take in clomiphene, HCG, perhaps testosterone. Oh, MK677, BPC157, TB500. You need this, you need that, you need peptides, you need something. Do you really? Do you really? Is it really bad if your testosterone levels are 450? Oh my goodness, you're only at 450 nanograms per deciliter. Well, what if you feel fine? What if you look great? What if you have a normal sex drive? Do you really need testosterone? And so what we have now is testosterone dysmorphia. So many people think that if their testosterone levels aren't as high as Alex Eubank, who's now at 932 nanograms per deciliter. Remember, he was previously in the 200s, 400s, perhaps 600s was his best ever. But suddenly it's 932. Do you really think he did that by being 100% natural? By perhaps eating more junk food, taking a few rest days off of the gym? I don't think so. Or is it more likely he went to a clinic and they gave him perhaps clomiphene or HCG? And so the problem is nowadays people think if you work hard, If you want a career, if you want to look good, you need performance-enhancing drugs. People think you can't do it without it. But yet I'm telling you, I competed for over a decade, 100% natural, competing in 42 competitions. And remember, I was natural and even winning overalls in non-tested competitions. As a natural athlete, I was beating out much larger competitors while being 100% natural. And this is even in non-tested competition where people were allowed to do anything. And looking at my photos, even when I was in the 150s, do I really look like I need steroids to look good? I would argue, and many have argued, that I looked better when I was natural than when I was enhanced. Not as much muscle, of course, but perhaps more athletic, better abs, better symmetry. And so why would you need to use steroids? Well, I'll tell you why. I wanted a pro card. I wasn't good enough. I wanted sponsorships. I wanted to be famous. I wanted people to think I had an amazing physique. It wasn't enough that I won the amateur and professional drug testing world championships. No, that wasn't enough. I had to get my IFBB Pro card, and to earn that, at least back then, they didn't give it to people who won a natural competition. And so what did I do? I took performance-enhancing drugs, and what were my results? Pro card. Of course, knew I could do it. I was 100% natural, had trained for decades, thought the only thing missing, the only thing I'm not doing that everyone else is taking steroids. And when I took those steroids, wow, what a difference. Put on a ton of muscle. People are thinking, no, you didn't. You were a 212 competitor. I'm 5'6". I began competing at 140-some pounds. My first national championships, I was in the bantamweight division. Bantam, 142 pounds. Placed 4th in open men's bantam, 3rd in open men's junior competition. And so I put on a lot of muscle, and I did so while being natural. And when I hit my natural genetic limit, then and only then did I take performance-enhancing drugs. But what about you? Are you 16, 17, 18, 19 years of age, and you're actually thinking about taking steroids already? Really? Why would you do that? Oh, I'm 21. I need to look like Sam Sulik. I want to look like Chris Bumstead. You're not looking like Sam or Chris Bumstead even if you take them. Stop it already.
You have to have people you trust who are maybe in the industry, maybe some doctors who are a little less mainstream and more progressive.
And so not even the doctors are experts. Do you really think every single doctor out there knows everything about steroids? Do you really think that the vast majority of doctors know more than Derek or even Coach Greg about performance-enhancing drugs? I dare you to ask them. Next time you go to your doctor, ask them about Deca, Anavar, testosterone. Talk about the various esters, how much dosage you should be taking for HRT. Ask them anything. Ask them the questions. Talk about peptides. Go and ask your doctor, do you really think they understand this? There are specialty doctors that understand these things. You could perhaps go and see an endocrinologist, an expert in hormones. That is who prescribed my own HRT as my own doctor. Didn't understand enough of this. Sent me off to an endocrinologist. But even an endocrinologist, they don't know about anadrol, winstrol. They're not experts in that. They know testosterone, but they don't know about all performance-enhancing drugs. And so if you ask this endocrinologist, hey, you're an expert in hormones, please advise me a cycle. I want to know how much Tren, EQ, Anavar, halotestin that I need to take for my next competition. Do you really think they can answer those questions? Of course not. And so really do your due diligence. Find an expert, a doctor that can prescribe you what you need, and only if you need it. Some people are just out to make money, just like your local coach. Oh, your coach told you to take Ostarine and LGD because you want to turn pro in bikini. Yeah, okay. Is that the best advice you should get? Do they know what dose you should take? Oh, I don't want to take that dose. It's too high. Oh, but you have to take that because you need to get a pro card and you need this much muscle. Do you really think you should be listening to your coach if your coach is making profit from selling you what they're selling? You need a second opinion. And so ask somebody who truly cares about you. Who really cares about you? Who can you trust? And not always is it that coach. That coach you just hired for the first time that has this many pros that they've qualified, that have won this many Olympias. Do you really think they care about you, or do they care about them? Do they care about the image that they're trying to provide? Oh, I know you look amazing. I can turn you pro. If only you take this many drugs, I can get you where you want to be. Don't mind how your voice is going to sound after that. Don't care what you do after this, but I'm going to show a before and after transformation and everyone's going to want to hire me. That is how it works in the real world. You doubt me? Look around, ask some questions.
Is there a book or a website or an article or somewhere to go to where you like start here and then go from there, or no?
No, really, no.
Really?
No, not that I would ever come across myself.
No, there isn't an answer. You really think he was going to say, yeah, all you got to do is watch Coach Greg's video or Derek's video and you're set. You're all good to go? Of course not. There's no video. There's no book. You need to spend years researching this. Before I ever took any steroid for the first time, I spent years studying all of it. I knew more about steroids than the vast majority of IFBB pros before I ever took my first cycle. I needed to be an expert on everything. I knew if I'm going to take these things, I need to know what they do, the side effects, the pros and cons, the doses, what I should be doing, everything. If you don't know more than all of your friends, if you're not the one that they go to for advice, how dare you take steroids? How dare you do that to your body? Your body's a temple. Don't ruin it. Do your research and research harder than last time.
So I had people who could trust who were helping me, and they were always like, minimum effective dose, always.
And so he asked, well, Chris, how did you get started? Do you have someone you can trust? Of course he did. He had a coach. It was his friend. He trusted him. But even Chris, remember, he started taking steroids at 18. And what is his advice right now? Don't take steroids until you've reached your natural limit. And he began taking steroids before his very first competition. Remember what he just said? You could take a steroid, enter a competition, and learn you don't like it. And so I'm sure if Chris could rewind the clock and have a do-over, he would compete in his very first competition 100% natural. See what his body could do without anything. Have you seen Chris at 18? Did you see him in his first show? I certainly did. I remember coaching Ian Valaire, who was in fact Chris Bumstead's coach, and he sent me a photo of this guy he was coaching. I couldn't believe it. I was like, who is this guy? He's a teenager? Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. And so you could see how great the genetics were. And when I watched Chris compete for the very first time in person at the Canadian Nationals, and I watched him compete and get second place, I said, he is the best. I had him in first place. I could not believe the shape, the symmetry. If anything, I said, this is the athlete with the most potential I've ever seen in my life. The barn door wide shoulders, the wide clavicles, the extremely tiny waist. It was absolutely astounding for me to see a guy this young that looked like that. He got second place. I thought he deserved first. What did he do? 6 weeks later, he went to the North Americans and won first place, earning his IFBB Pro card, and then switched into classic physique. And to this day, he's now won 5 Mr. Olympia titles. He had the genetics, and over the years, he said he didn't increase the doses. If anything, he was even less. He learned his body, how to recover better, how to eat better, how to train better. And so he's giving advice. Use the lowest effective dose. I always tell people, use the lowest dose that makes you happy. If you can get by on just HRT alone, which is what I'm doing, and you can be happy with it, that is the dose you should do. Would it be better if I was 100% natural? I, of course, believe that. I believe it would be healthier if perhaps I could get off all of the HRT. Remember, I take 140 milligrams a week. I've been doing this for 4 years. My doctors, in fact, increased my dose, but I haven't increased it. I'm trying to take the lowest dose that makes me happy. And you see my testosterone levels. I'm not lying to you. People say, oh, you're on growth hormone because your chest is red. I've gone to Mexico. I have a 10. So what if I look red? It's not from taking growth hormone. I'm not taking anything else. If I did, I would tell you. And so please lower your dosages. Do you know how much safer it is? At least you did less. Remember, less is more. And remember, if you double your dose, it doesn't mean you're going to double your gains. And for the most part, the higher the dose, there's something known as the law of diminished returns. The more you add into something, the less effect it's going to have. The problem is the more you take something, the more negative side effects you're going to get. And so the less you take, the better.
Are there any supplements for you where you like to, these are some of the go-to supplements?
He also asked Chris, what are some of the best natural supplements you can take to build muscle? Of course, at the top of his list, creatine, cheap, effective, been shown to work in probably 1,000+ studies. Also, you can take pre-workout. There's stim and non-stim to help you have more energy, increase blood flow, get better pumps, can help you to train harder than last time. Not to mention, he of course lists protein powder. I would have to, of course, add in GO2 Max with the main ingredient being NMN. How can you go wrong? So much research showing how it increases your cardio, your endurance, your recovery. And so whether you're training with weights, doing cardio, or both like Coach Greg, this an absolute must supplement. Please click the link in the description. Code Greg, 10% off. Many people talking about test boosters. If you are considering taking steroids, at least try a test booster first. I mean, what do you have to lose? Research showing it can increase testosterone by 200 to 400 nanograms per deciliter. And of course, that is in conjunction with, are you eating a proper diet? Are you over dieting? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you overly stressed? You need to do everything properly to maximize your hypertrophy, maximize the results you're getting in the gym. And so please do your research. Don't just listen to your coach. Learn as much as you possibly can. And so please like the video if you liked it. Did you enjoy this video? Can you add a comment to help the algorithm? Subscribe, click the bell button, get notified right away. Watch the videos as fast as you can. And of course, watch one of the 2 bloops over there. Please watch at least one. And you know I have the cookbooks, several of them, the Circle Diet book, several training books, PDF and hard copy. Please head over to my website. Don't forget to enter code Greg, saves you 10% off. Click the link in the description. And even if you have no money, you realize I have a free diet and training program. It's close to 50 pages. There's more than one, depends on your needs. Please click the link and don't forget to be a newsletter subscriber. I also have coaching plans by me and my team and the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. So much going on. Can you believe it? Of course you can. And until next time, I am out.